Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I am here with song number 2 from season 21, Wake the Sleeper. This album has already started out with just taking off like a rocket with that first song. So let's see where this one goes. Before we do, I do want to mention, guys, that it is getting close to that time where decisions for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions will be made. Please make sure that you have signed that petition to help get Uriah Heep inducted. Apparently, a couple of the members, John Lawton and Ken Hensley, were recognized by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So why isn't the band? Let's get them in there. The link is in the show notes. It's also on my website, the podcast page for Uriah Heep. Go to scotthaskin.com, click on the Uriah Heep podcast link, and it is right there. It is also available. I recently posted it. I think I recently posted it on the Facebook page as well. If you cannot, for some reason, find it, please send me an email and I will get it to you, uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com. This is very important, guys. You love this band. Let's give back. Let's make sure that this oversight is, what would that be? Cited? Oversight would be cited? I don't know. Let's make sure it happens. That's the most important thing. Welcome to Monday, guys. I hope that everyone had a fantastic weekend. Before we get into the show, we've got some stuff to talk about. The Choices box set is available. Make sure you get your hands on a copy if you haven't already. It's a fantastic look at Uriah Heep through the eyes of the band members themselves. And of course, if there's any left, the Everyday Rocks box set from BMG, 7 picture discs, 7 t-shirts, a wall calendar, inspirational lyrical cards. I mean, if you guys saw the unboxing video that I did for my copy, you'll see that it is just a fantastic package. The quality of the picture discs is just stunning, and they're really nice and thick too. Really the most amazing box set that I've personally ever seen. All biases for Uriah Heep aside, that is just an amazing package that they put together with BMG. So check those out. There are links in the show notes. There's also links on the website. You can also get it at uriah-heep.com, the official Uriah Heep website, done by none other than dear friend of the show, Dave White, does the website. Also does the Mick Box website, mick-box.net. That's where you want to go to check out all things Mick Box. So Dave does a great job maintaining both of those sites. Going to have his hands full with a new album coming out soon. I imagine that there is just a ton of work that goes into it for him. So get some rest, Dave. Your work is about to be cut out for you. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff, guys. Great stuff on the websites. Lots and lots of pages, lots of history, lyrics, all kinds of great facts and things about Uriah Heep. There's also a web store. Great stuff going on. So go to those websites and check them out if you haven't already. Speaking of things that are cool, how about some people that are cool? There are some wonderful people that support this show each and every month out of their own pocket. And I'm talking about people at the $5 Easy Living tier like Kenny Wymore and Brad D. I'm also talking about people at the $3 The Wizard tier like Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, Frank Thielgaard Mortensen, and William Rose. And last but not least, at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, the one who is closed off like the Shroud of Turin, Airtight Gravesite. Thank you all very much for your ongoing and incredibly generous donations to the show. It's not just the money, it's the support too. It's knowing that you guys care. It's the fact that what I'm doing here means enough to you guys that you would want to do that. So thank you guys very much. If you are not a patron or doing donations to the show, if you'd like to, you can go back to that website, scotthaskin.com, click the Uriah Heep podcast link. All the way down at the bottom of the page, you have 2 options. 1, you could sign up for Patreon and do an ongoing monthly donation. Or 2, you could do a one-time or I believe an ongoing donation through PayPal. Both of those links are there. If you have any problems, again, please get into contact with me, uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com. Thank you very much. And also everyone who has shared the links to the show, who's told people about the show, who have left reviews, whether they've been positive reviews or not. I really appreciate anyone that takes the time to do that. I may not be happy with what you say, or I may absolutely love what you say. Who knows? The choice is yours. So, getting back to great people, though, there are some wonderful people that support the show in their own way. Podbean is the host for the show. They are the ones that send it out to all the places when it comes into your Apple Podcast feed or your Google Podcast feed or Amazon or wherever you're listening. That's all done by Podbean. Thank you very much. Also, my friends at Audionamics, who created the instant dialogue cleaner that I use to keep the show sounding good and clean. They made that, and I would be in hell trying to do podcasts without it. Probably wouldn't be as interested in doing it, at least not doing 4 shows a week. It wouldn't be possible. So thanks to them, I'm able to bring you this much content. And, my buddy Scott Lazinski, who did the logo for the show, both the day and night logo, just fantastic work. And, it's all these people that make a difference in doing the show. I do the show by myself for the most part, but there's a lot of people that affect how it turns out, as far as who listens to it, who's aware of it, how the show sounds, all that sort of stuff. And, I really appreciate all of you who have helped. Speaking of cool people who have helped, I'd like to talk about my brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network. Yes, you can even go to Twitter and hashtag Deep Dive Podcast Network and get all the updates on what we're up to, or what we've posted anyway. But a few specific shows that we have over at the Deep Purple Podcast, talking about Nate and John. We have the Simple Man at Skinnerd Reconsidered, Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side. We have Riot Sabbath Bloody Podcast, Paul, Joe, and David at the In the Lap of the Pods Podcast, Andy and Matt at Hawk Binge, Eric and Jonathan at Maiden A to Z Pod. We have Daniel and Josh at the Diary of the Madmen, the ultimate Ozzy podcast. Talking about Ozzy Osbourne, of course, because what other Ozzy is there? Not Ozzy and Harriet. We got Ben and Sam at Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast. And last but not least, George and Tom at the Metal Gods podcast, all about Judas Priest. And of course, I would be remiss without mentioning my dear friend Brandon over at Metallicast, my favorite of the many Metallica podcasts that are out there. No, I haven't listened to them all, but even if I did, Brandon would still probably be my favorite. Check out also GottaHear'Em.all.com, where Allegra is bringing you the history of Deep Purple and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, their lives on the roads, and many other fun tidbits. A great place to get resources for those bands. And of course, Ace on Music, which you can get on Stitcher and YouTube. Ace, the band's manager, is just, filling us with great information about the music business, questions about what's going on, keeping us up to date about all kinds of things. Great show. Go check that out. So now that we are through all of those smiley meet and greets, let us get to today's song. Now, today's song, of course, is called Overload, and here it is by Uriah Heep. Well, much like Abominog, this is a whole new sound for the band. Really heavy, really progressive. I love this intro. I love that everybody has their moments to shine. It's interesting. At first, the first thing that came to my mind at the very beginning was that this was, even though I knew better, a different kind of Foxy Lady by Jimi Hendrix cover. It had that feel to it off the bat, but it quickly changed, obviously. I love that everybody has their moments. The bass is coming through nice and clear. Drums are heavy and coming through. That beautiful swell on the keyboards from Phil is fantastic. Mick's playing. He's got 2 different tracks going there, really progressive lead, kind of like what we heard in the first song, Wake the Sleeper. So I have a feeling this is going to be another very heavy song. I mean, talk about coming back with a vengeance. These guys are just on fire They've been kept out of the writing and recording phase for too long, and they are just exploding here. I have to say, this is some of the best sounding drum tracks I've heard from the band over the many years. Really crisp and clean, really cutting through, very clear what's going on. When, some of the older albums, as I've mentioned, you can't really hear the bass drum sometimes, or the snare was a little bit light. This is really hard, heavy 90s. I'm going to say metal. I mean, this really has more of a metal sound to it than a hard rock sound to me. Metal to me at this time was really progressive, had a lot of the dynamics that Mick is playing with, really heavy drum sound, just really almost, I want to say aggressive as well as progressive music. And so to me, it really feels more like a metal song. Well, even Bernie sounds better than he did, I think, on Sea of Light. He sounds stronger. He sounds more, I don't think confident is the right word, because I've never felt that he didn't sound confident, but there's just a different, almost like a renewed energy I feel in his voice. It's really great to listen to. I'm hearing a couple of different guitar tracks. It sounds like just like long chords in the slightly right ear, and then some more dynamic playing in the left ear, which sounds really good. Lots of stuff going on there. The bass is just really pounding, sounds great. Drums are playing very solid. Can't really define keyboards just at the moment, but I'm sure we will again here at some point before too much longer. Well, I hate to interrupt the song. I do it all the time. I just wanted to point out this kind of bass drum sound is exactly the kind of bass drum sound that I absolutely love. It cuts through, it's punchy, it's not so bassy, it's not so ringing out that it kind of drowns things out. It's nice and punchy. You feel it in your chest. You feel it just hitting you, but you can clearly define every single bass drum hit, and that is exactly what I love. Another nice, surprising, progressive part. Their writing is very different at this point. And what's interesting is they've only changed the drummer, right? Usually you'd have like a guitar player or a keyboardist or bass player that would change the dynamic that much. But really all they've changed is the drummer. And so, and of course, like I said, there's a 10-year span between the last album and this one. So a lot happened, I'm sure, over that time. But even Mick's tone is heavier. It's chunkier. It's deeper. It sounds thicker. And the overall sound of the band is just very, very heavy at this point. But I love those little progressive pieces in there. I also love the tasteful choice of how much to use the backing vocals here. I hear Bernie doing some doubling, but really the whole band backing it up has been used very sporadically on this album so far. Granted, we're only a song and a half in, but I really like that they're not over pushing that just yet. They're trying to feel out a new sound here, and so far it's really pleasing to me. not sure exactly what those voices are in the background there. It sounds like news style reporting. So I'm going to go with that. I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like. But I really like that it's not put up front in the mix like where, the vocals would be at that volume level. I like that it's kind of just laid in there subtly over this really nice guitar riff. Again, love the sound of Mick's guitar. I'm hearing a little wah pedal in there too. Very, very cool. Very great song. I love the way it transitioned into this part and picked up the tempo again. Just fantastic writing and performance here. This is just so tight. Everybody's just right on with each other, and it feels very natural and comfortable. It doesn't feel forced. The music is flowing very well from one part into another. When they stop and do something a little more technical, they're right on with each other. I mean, it's just a great recording. Love these passages with Bernie where he sings those ahs and kind of layers them a little bit. Sounds great. That's a great solo. Really fits the song. He's showing off some of his skills, but still, I feel like there's so much more in him. He just doesn't have to use it. What he played was great for this song. It was aggressive. What's really more aggressive, even than his playing, is the tone. It's just very edgy, very heavy. It's like his sound that he had on Sea of Light times 10. He's really beefed it up for this album. But everything he played, again, was within context. And that's the great thing about Mick, is whether he's, playing something fast, playing something slow or mid-tempo, he knows how to play for the song. And this is just another great example of that. It really is. Really dig it. This is a really cool part here because even though the feel hasn't changed, the drums have really dropped back, just playing boom, tap, not even hitting any additional bass drums or anything, just playing really straightforward. and giving the keyboards a moment to cut through and sound really powerful against what Mick is playing. And then bass, we just got those really powerful straight eighth notes from Trevor. It's just a really solid part. And I love that drums dropped back from, the extra kicks that were being put in during the verse before. And what we're hearing now, which is really just straight, almost like I'm expecting another build here. Well, that has to be one of the most kick-ass transitions that I've heard from this band so far. And you know how often I compliment them on the way that they do transitions. That was completely unexpected. I love those last parts. Really great highlights. You don't expect new things to be introduced at the end of a song, except for maybe the very ending, however they pound that out. But in this case, no, this was really a fantastic twist. I said I expected a build. What I got was a change. And, but I knew something was coming. So at least there's that. But in this case, yeah, that was a great change. Very powerful. When things are unexpected, there's always an element of drama to it. But this was just, digging the claws and even further into the dirt to make this song more incredible. And I think they nailed it. I think that was probably one of the best endings of a Uriah Heep song I've heard so far out of the 200 plus songs that I've reviewed. So great stuff, guys. Really enjoyed this song. This album is just kicking serious ass. It really is. And it's a new sound for the band. It's a new style for the band. Russell's really bringing something different from what Lee brought. You could come in and you could say, well, this is the sound of the band. And so this is what they expect. And you could play along with that and it'd be okay. But you've got to be true to yourself as a musician as well. And you've got to find out where you fit within a band. And I think Russell's done a great job with that already 2 songs in. He's a heavier drummer than Lee was, but he definitely is someone who has his own distinct personality, especially when it comes to the double shuffles. If you've ever visually watched him play a double shuffle, it's pretty amazing, I have to say. I take no shame in saying that he is 1,000 times better at that than I am as a drummer. Just amazing to watch him do it. And but he's really brought a signature to this band. And on top of that, just the much heavier overall sound of the band. I love the keyboard solo from Phil on this. Very powerful, a little bit buried in the mix. I think that rhythm guitar track from Mick was maybe just a little bit too loud and not making as much room for the other instruments to come through. But that's just my speculation. It could have also just been how much Russell was writing the crashes as well. Maybe a combination of those two things. But it was nice to hear that solo from Phil. Very powerful, very aggressive as well. Some really interesting stuff on this album so far, and especially this song. So I really look forward to see what we have coming at us the rest of the week. And that will do it for this episode, guys. Thank you for joining me on this Monday. I hope we've set a great tone for your week. You're all hyped up and ready to tackle anything that comes your way. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!